Hey folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video. Two quick updates. Number one, I got feedback that my audio levels were a little low. That should be fixed for this video. Number two, I'm getting just a tiny bit of echo or reverb. It's not that bad, but I'm intending on fixing that. I'll be ordering some stuff later today. It'll probably take a week or so for that stuff to get in, but that is being fixed. Anyway, today's video is sponsored by Play EDH, the largest Discord server for webcam EDH games, and we'll take a look at them after round one. They've got a pretty cool event coming up that you might want to play if you're into webcam magic. Today we are going to be playing Cephalid Breakfast. Min sent me a sort of pseudo dealer's choice donation deck list, a tier 1 donation for any sort of Cephalid Breakfast deck list. Okay, so we got to start with the deck name because this is Legacy and deck names are ridiculous. The Cephalid here refers to Cephalid Illusionist, a creature that whenever it becomes the target of a spell or ability, you mill 3 cards. And the plan here is to use Nomads en-Kor or Shuko, both of which have 0 cost abilities, to repeatedly target Cephalid Illusionist and mill yourself out. The plan is to have a couple of Narcomoebas hit play, at which point I will cast a Dread Return, targeting Thassa's Oracle, for the win. And most of the rest of the deck is supporting this in some way, with cantrips to find the pieces, or Step Through. We're never casting this for 5 mana. Almost never, I should say. We're doing this for Wizards cycling, because Cephalid Illusionist and Thassa's Oracles are both wizards. So for 2 mana, we can tutor for either side of our we can tutor for the Thassa's Oracle when we need to win from hand, which sometimes is relevant because of graveyard hate, or we can get the Cephalid Illusionist, which combos with a bunch of stuff in the deck. Urza's Saga and Stoneforge Mystic serve as tutors for the deck, while Stoneforge also has kind of a backup plan of just being able to poop out a 5/5 first strike trampler indestructible haste creature that, clocks your opponent in 3 to 4 turns. And Urza Saga tokens can be a backup plan. It's not like it's the best backup plan in the world because this isn't a very artifact central deck, but it does enough that you can put some pressure on your opponent's resources. The biggest thing that I want to say about Cephalid Breakfast, and let's make myself big for a moment while I talk about it. The biggest thing I want to say about this deck is I'm not really sure how you are supposed to build this deck. This is a deck that you could build with or without Urza Saga. This is a deck that you could build with Aether Vial. This is a deck you can build with or without Stoneforge Mystic. If you're playing Stoneforge Mystic, you can choose to play Kaldra, you can choose not to play Kaldra. There's so many different ways that you can build this deck, and as an outsider who isn't regularly playing this deck, it's very hard for me to know, like, hey, this is the version that you should be playing right now. Think of it kind of like your control deck. You know how you need to adapt your control deck to match the metagame? This is a deck that you're probably supposed to adapt the deck to match what you're expecting from the other side of the table. But as someone who has literally never played this deck before, it's very hard for me to say, yeah, this is the version that I should be playing. And some people are even testing out some crazy things like playing Staff of the Storyteller in this, so that you have another way to just really draw a lot of cards and have a little bit better endgame. So that's something that I'm going to kind of be thinking about moving forward, is what is this deck supposed to look like at any given time? I've been super impressed by this deck from the other side of the table. I feel like, wow, there's basically no way that I can lose, and then something happens and my opponent manages to string together something that I wasn't expecting that does produce a win. So I'm very excited to be trying this one out. I guess last thing I want to do here is highlight one card that's probably unfamiliar to most people. I had to read this one myself. Jack-o'-lantern. For 1 in tapping, you can sacrifice Jack-o'-lantern to exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard and draw a card. And for 1 colorless mana, you can exile Jack-o'-lantern from your graveyard to add 1 mana of any color. I'm not entirely sure why we're playing this. I am sure this solves some specific problem of trying to, say, cast a Thassa's Oracle from hand using blue when you have like Plains or Urza Saga while also doubling as graveyard hate. But when I don't fully understand a deck, I don't edit the cards in the deck a lot of the time. So we're going to leave it as is and see how this plays out. This was a deck that got 12th place in a recent challenge. I think the second placed list was a one with Staff of the Storyteller, but since that's super non-traditional, I didn't want to play that as my first attempt at playing the deck. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the matches here. If you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And if you're a regular, throw me a like before this video begins. It is the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. Okay, this is a great example of a hand with lands and spells that is just not keepable. This has an Illusionist and a way to get a Shuko. This will absolutely be a keep from me. We're going to throw the Dread Return back into the deck here. Cycling a Street Wraith probably means that I am playing against a Death Shadow deck. Polluted Delta fits the vibes here. Okay. Drawing some slightly weird cards here. We had a Dread Return and Narcomoeba and now a Thassa's Oracle. Since I know that I am playing with interaction, I'm not sure that I'm supposed to just play Urza's Saga out on turn 1, because if Cephalid Illusionist eats a Daze or a Force of Will, just kind of throw away a land for nothing. So I think I'm just going to go Delta Pass and slow down this game a little bit. Hoping to draw another blue land, just kind of slow this game down, maybe get a Teferi in play, and then start going for some nonsense. If, on the other hand, I am playing against Doomsday, I have made a horrible error, but I am not. Sure. All right, so my opponent has a Death Shadow, so the clock is on. Okay, with a Force of Will, I am now much more willing to start making plays. My Brainstorm isn't really great yet. I'm going to go ahead and fetch. I am going to go for the Tundra here. I think if I eat a Wasteland on Urza's Saga, there is the Daze. Let's try to stop that. Now, I don't just have a Goldfish next turn. Like I've got to wait a little while for Shuko to be online. See what my opponent goes after, because it's a real choice. All right, they are going for the Urza Saga since that tutors for a combo piece, and we'll see if Brainstorm bails me out. Oh, or that can just happen. Do I play it now? Just totally naked. I think I Brainstorm and try to hit another land here and keep my development going, which I did. Thassa's Oracle can go back into deck here. I think Teferi goes back. I think I am a fan of the lands that are currently in my deck. We'll grab a Tundra, attempt a Nomads en-Kor. Oh. Yeah, I wasn't even sure if I was going to go for it if that resolved. As like, if they let that resolve and then have 2 counter spells in hand for Dread Return purposes, it's like really awkward for me, but we'll take that. I imagine I sideboard in 7 removal spells here. I don't really know what to sideboard out. I'm going to think for a minute. So despite the fact that Teferi cuts off counters, it feels slow. I'm not really sure that I want to be slow. Maybe like this is my pile of cuttable cards. I have 7 things that I want to bring in. That could be 4 forces and Teferis. And I kind of make my opponent use resources protecting their threats and then win eventually somehow, maybe with Kaldra. I will buy that. Do I keep a land-heavy hand in this matchup that has a removal spell and 1 combo piece but no cantrip? I would not keep this on the play, I don't think. On the draw, this feels kind of reasonable. But I have no mulligan heuristics for this deck. Alright, there is a Delver. I think I play Swords to Plowshares on turn 2 and take 1 to 3 damage. Not anymore. So now I will go ahead and Tundra Swords that. It resolved. I have a Daze. I don't really just want to throw this out there willy-nilly. Do I want to protect this card? I essentially have a 1-card hand. So yeah, I will protect that card. Alright. Opponent's slightly punished for not playing out their land ahead of time. Second Thoughtseize in the shadow of the first. Alright. I know what sort of things I am looking for with this Ponder. I am fine casting it now, although I will probably leave my best card on top of my library rather than putting it in my hand. Seems like my opponent has a daze given this pause. So my ideal card is a Stoneforge Mystic, which I will play on 3 mana to find Kaldra. Hey, Stoneforge Mystic that I can play on 3 mana to find Kaldra. We'll leave that on top of my deck. I don't really love drawing another land here, but I 100% want Stoneforge Mystic. So this is fine. Unfortunately, it looks like my opponent disconnected and couldn't get back to Magic Online instead. So we get a freebie round 1. Let's try to do it the real way in round 2. Today's video is sponsored by Play EDH. Now, if you're not doing anything on Saturday, May 13th, from maybe 11 a.m. to 5 o'clock or so, please consider playing in the Play Max 4 tournament they are sponsoring. It is a maximum power EDH event held via webcam. Please check out their Discord server, Play EDH, if you're interested in more info. All right, back to the magic. All right. Colorless lands are not free. We can't cast our cantrips with this hand, so this one is an auto mulligan despite having both combo pieces. If we're playing against a non-blue deck, this goldfish is on turn 2. This is a keep. And I think I'm going to ignore Ponder in this hand. My opponent asks if this is going to be a fun brew. Not today. Not today. Maybe not as fun as yours. So because of Opposition Agent, I'm actually going to fetch on turn 1 here. And I'm just going to grab a basic. We'll go ahead and play out Shuko. Now, a lot of weird things can happen in this turn cycle. Arn could happen with a double Dark Ritual hand. Playing off Shuko. Alice of the Void could happen. Opposition Agent could happen. It's a Sheoldred. Trinisphere. Oh, shit. That is very good against what I am doing here. I do not have the third land. I am at the mercy of the top of my deck, and I don't think this deck actually plays that many lands. Okay, sure. Sheoldred, Karn, how bad is it? Damage report, Helm, fuck. Okay, I am dead. That is Helm activate for the win. Good old 3-ball, just doing good, honest magic here. Oh, I need Prismatic Ending. Like, for sure. This is probably actually a hard matchup, because a lot of the time I'm going to have to cast Thassa's Oracle from hand, which usually means tutoring for it with Step Through. Or alternatively, I just Stoneforge and kill my opponent with Kaldra. That actually might become my primary plan. I go enough down this route that I start doing this for like Opposition Agents and Sheoldreds. Think for a second. Yeah, I'm just really unsure here. I know I need these for Chalices and Friends. Like, Ball Therapy probably loses a lot of oomph, and graveyard-based stuff is going to be shut off a lot of the time. But this eliminates some lines that are important. Maybe I get bit in the butt for doing this. I can see like Ponder or Daze being things that go from here. A little weird to cut Ponder when a lot of times I'm going to specifically be looking for like a Stoneforge Mystic. Well, this is a turn 2 combo hand. If I hit a second land, this is a little risky. I'm not super comfortable with this. All right, I get slowed down by that ley line. I am not sure on playing out Nomads en-Kor versus Shuko here. Shuko gets shut off by a Karn. Nomads en-Kor eats it to things like Sudden Edict, Shouldered Edict, Plague Engineer. Okay, looks like it's going to be a slower start. Okay, cool. That is not the land that I am looking for. I'm okay as long as I don't brainstorm lock myself with no lands. Cast Brainstorm. Those are lands. Am I playing the Urza Saga game against my opponent's Urza Saga game? I don't think I am. I'll put back a Nomads en-Kor and one Urza Saga. I think we'll go ahead and fetch under. I guess Dark Ritual Opposition Agent is a thing that can happen. Okay, cool. My opponent was typing something, not thinking about whether or not to Dark Ritual me. I'll play Tundra and Shuko. I guess I should have played my Brainstorm pre-combat. Just a point of damage. Alright, there's a Lotus Petal. And another land. My opponent can make Urza Saga construct tokens. That doesn't seem like the best thing to be doing, though. 4 mana. Alright, this is a Sheoldred. Yeah, I don't really want to draw Kaldra. So, Urza Saga. I believe that I'm supposed to Wizard Cycle here and get the Thassa's Oracle into my hand so that Opposition Agent can't bite me in the butt later. So let's do that. Alright, there's the Oracle, and I'll pass. Discard becomes awkward for doing it this way, but I think it's more likely that my opponent has access to Opposition Agent than discard. Like, there's almost certainly both in the deck, but there's probably more copies of Opposition Agent than discard. Needle's fine. I have 2 different pieces of this side of the combo. Aiming to Fairy. Okay, sure. I hopefully just have my opponent dead to any land. I can just play Illusionist and Thassa's Oracle in the same turn. Okay, almost any land. Alright, so I lose some life. Yeah, I don't have triple blue here. Do combo off. This is the sort of spot where a Jack-o'-lantern could, in theory, be good, but playline. Alright. Play a land drop. You better play around Edicts. I will play out 2 of these. And be a little sad if my opponent has Plague Engineer. No, I don't think an attack is necessary. I'm not winning this game on damage with that onboard Sheoldred. Like, this is a combo game or bust. Alright, so they get life off Sheoldred. Urza Saga ticks up. And see what happens. I will just eat this damage. I'll start thinking about chump blocks after next turn. Chronosphere is fine. I now have a deterministic win in hand, I believe. I lose some life. Load a mana with this Urza Saga. Grab a Shuko. 3 mana for a Thassa's Oracle. And now I will do the thing. Alright, and my opponent concedes to it. How do I feel about Ponder? What I boarded out before. If my opponent's going to preemptively Pithing Needle to Fairy, maybe it doesn't make the most sense to have it, but it is just like a great out to Trinisphere and friends. I have my Prismatic Endings already. Ponder seems reasonable. I still think I want to keep the Narcomoebas so that I do have the ability to just combo off through the graveyard, although I don't expect it to work most of the time. Mulligan this. Oh, no. Well, how many lands do I have? 19 remaining lands. 2 draws to hit any to play a Kaldra game. Is this better than 5? This might be better than 5. Get shit on by Trinisphere though, like real bad. I'm gonna keep it. Like, Prismatic Ending's very good in the matchup. I have half of my combo. I have plays for 2 turns, even if I miss a land drop. Okay, now I don't. But Ending will answer that Chalice as soon as I have another land. Ew. So to play around Opposition Agent, I will go ahead and fetch now. Grab a basic, pass, and I hope that Stoneforge for Kaldra can just go all the way here. If it looks like it can't, I will remove Chalice and try to play a fair game. Fuck. That's oddly good here. Oh, that's... Fuck. Okay, they throw away a Shadow Spear. That helps a bit. So if I try to go for a Stoneforge Kaldra, my opponent just Stonebrains it out of the way. Man, do I have to prismatic ending a Stone Brain? I guess there's the next level thing of like, if I fetch Kaldra, does my opponent actually name it? I probably would. All right, I did not expect to be making this play today. Here we are. Oh, this actually presents another problem, though, where Urza Saga can now get Pithing Needle, so I might need to sandbag Stoneforge Mystic for a turn. I actually think I messed up. I think I was supposed to make a different play there. If I play Stoneforge this turn, my opponent just gets Pithing Needle. Yeah, I fucked that up. I was supposed to go after Chalice. Should have thought about that for 10 seconds longer. It's okay. I'm hoping that I can grind my opponent's aggressive elements to a halt by putting Kaldra into play. Like, I'll take a good chunk of damage in the meantime, but we'll see. They also can just Pithing Needle, Stoneforge Blind, and I'm fully just soft to that. I think they're going to name Teferi. That's what they did last time. Yes. Okay, cool. Not another Soul Land. Another Soul Land putting an immediate Urza Saga construct into play would have been pretty bad. Please, don't get me wrong. Life is still very bad. Like, my opponent has a lot of power over there. Alright. I've got Kaldra. Does this even work? Actually, I don't know that this works. I take, like, 12 this turn. Yeah. I think I probably punted this game by not going after Chalice. Yeah, so I think the line is go after Chalice, hope opponent Stone Brains a combo piece, and play a Kaldra game. Or alternatively, if they rip, like, Kaldra out of my hand, or Stoneforge out, I start walking down the combo path. Yeah, I think I punted this game. I think this loss is my fault. Or at the very least, I hurt my chances of winning greatly with the line that I took. Uh-oh. They're just floating mana here, which means I'm about to get helmed, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4. The Lotus Petal is the 5th mana. Okay. The second Stone Brain is rough. Yeah, there's Kaldra going bye-bye, which I think means I'm dead to the constructs. I don't know when they had this Stone Brain. They had it earlier. I think they've probably just got me. Picked up a Teferi, which is needled. How do I win? How do I possibly win? Probably by blocking, buying time, Stoneforging in Shuko later. Alright. I think without drawing a land there, I can't beat the clock of 2 turns here, even with jump blocks. GG's. That was an interesting one. Okay. This hand has, like, kind of 1, 2, 3 pieces of the same side of the deck list and 4 lands. I'm not really in love with this. I could try to play a Urza Saga game, but fair Urza Saga without soul lands is like a very medium plan. Ooh. I probably still keep this. I think Stoneforge Mystic goes back. I am going to need a lit. My opponent kept their hand on 7 cards and took no game actions. So maybe Manaless Dredge, maybe Oops All Spells, or some other combo deck that is like just immediately short of going off. Yeah, this is more or less exactly what I would want to see. Because this gives me a force of will for this next turn cycle, for if my opponent is doing something unfair. Then I have a white land, or Nomads en-Kor, which is... What the fuck are you doing, opponent? Like, you kept a no-lander with Delver? Why on earth? On the play? Okay. Alright. Alright, so they draw their card. I think I just play Urza Saga. No, then I redraw that other land. Alright. Let's grab a Tundra. And we'll play a Nomads en-Kor. I don't want to Force of Will here. I don't really want to pitch Step Through under basically any circumstances. My opponent attacks in. I I have so much access to this side of the combo, I will fully just block. I am beyond good with that trade. Alright. There is a Tarmogoyf. That's fine. A very good clock. I have chump blockers for days. And I can kind of wait to do things until I have Force of Will back up. Under's fine. Somewhat awkwardly, my opponent's deck could be playing Stifle. Okay, there's a land and fetch. There's the Ponder. Bolt is fine. Tarmogoyf is big, but it's not really a problem. Secondary threat is a bit of a problem here, because now I am under some amount of actual pressure. Alright, there's an Illusionist. Stoneforge Mystic. When do I play that? Force of Will's a bit awkward. I play Stoneforge, and my opponent has Force of Will. I take 8 instead of activate Urza Saga, take 3. I guess if the Force of Will gets used on the Stoneforge, that's just better for me. Okay. Preemptively grab another land, just kind of keeping something like Stifle in mind. Alright, that Stoneforge enters play. Now, to better play around Wasteland, I can grab Shuko here and cast a Shuko. And then I don't get got by like Ponder or other cantrip into Wasteland, which I think I'm going to do. I think I'm on the this is a combo game, because with the Flying Dragon Rage Channeler here, I can't buy time forever versus the Tarmogoyf. Like, I can basically not care about Tarmogoyf indefinitely, but like Dragon Rage Channeler is a real problem. If I were to take 8 in this turn cycle, go to 5, Dragon Rage Channeler still just kills me in 2 turns, so I don't think trying to turtle up with Kaldra is going to work here. Alright, eat 8 damage. I am hoping to draw a blue card. Alright. Another Goyf is fine. My opponent has 1 card in hand. I think that means I'm just good. Oh, I guess this is a second card. So it is possible Force of Will plus blue card could be assembled here. Alright, I'll float mana. There is Shuko. We'll make a new land drop. There's Cephalid Illusionist. Yep. 3 mana, so I can't Force of Will. Unfortunate. Okay, so I imagine it's these 7 in. What did I do before? Forces out to Fairies out. Now that those Tarmogoyfs are there, I could maybe do Step Through out instead. The tutoring is slow. It's nice, but it's slow. Something like this. Okay, so I have removal. I have a very fast theoretical goldfish. I will keep this hand. I probably don't go turbo on this hand. Is what it is. A little frustrating to lose the previous game to someone who kept a no-lander or otherwise skipped their first turn. And I lose it to randomly drawing the blue card for Force of Will, or alternatively randomly drawing the Force of Will. And everything except Force of Will blue card loses. Do I play Cephalid Illusionist here? It feels like literally everything beats that, right? Like, Bolt beats it, Force beats it, Daze beats it, Force of Negation beats it. Like, let's spend some resources on some other stuff for a little while. And our 2-1 Narcomoeba will win the day. Alright, no use of my opponent's mana in their first turn cycle. Now we're going to see something. Dragon Rage Channeler is fine. I'm more than prepared to deal with that. Stoneforge is great. I'm not going to get that dazed, though. I guess I probably want to attack first. On the off chance that Surveil goes perfectly and Dragon Rage Channeler is transformed into a 3/3. Alright. Opponent goes to 17. Goodbye, Dragon Rage Channeler. Okay, no fight there. Wasteland is quite good. Yep. No follow-up threat from my opponent. Means they have a hand just absolutely full of permission, which is why I'm not just like jamming these cards immediately. If Delver is not presenting a threat, I will attack them for like 7 turns with a Narcomoeba. Like, I'm good with that. Okay, there's a Delver. That's fine. I'm gonna Swords to Plowshares that end of turn just because my mana is tight right now. And if my opponent dazes, I want to be able to try again on my turn. Bye, Delver. He's dead, Jim. Yeah, and here, this being either Teferi or the Step Through, not really where I want to be. It's just too expensive after I've been wastelanded. That's okay. Like, again, I am ahead on board. The old Cephalid beatdown. Okay. We are a full-on tempo deck now that we have days. Get in there, Narcomoeba. Opponent's at 12. There's a Ponder. There's a Dragon Rage Channeler, and again, similarly to before, I will probably Swords to Plowshares this end of turn so that I can attempt removing it twice. Goodbye, Dragon Rage Channeler. Dead. Opponent just like fully unwilling, or I guess theoretically unable to fight over removal spells on their creature. I'm guessing it's unwilling. I'll brainstorm here. This is fine. You do your Pyroblast or whatever. Yep. I'll pass the turn. Prismatic Ending isn't like the best against some of my opponent's creatures, so like Prismatic Ending costing 2 versus a Tarmogoyf, for example, is pretty awkward, or it missing Murktide Region is pretty awkward. I do not regret using the end of turn swords twice. Well, that's bad. Sure. See if I do have a land on top. Technically a land. Go Gadget Narcomoeba. Alright, no removal on it yet. Don't you worry, opponent. The second Shuko is coming. When it gets here, Narcomoeba is attacking for 3. Delta's great. On it goes to 6 from this Narcomoeba hit. This is very real amounts of damage. My opponent has some castable card. They're sitting here thinking about something. Brainstorm's fine. Quick land check. I do have 3 Tundras. That's Tarmogoyf. Apparently can't really remove. Now I can remove it. Bash in for 2. My opponent's at 4. I have 3 absolutely stellar plays here. Prismatic Ending is great. Stoneforge is great. Illusionist is great. I think Illusionist is the worst of the plays. I think I am just going to continue to try and keep my opponent's board clear. Like, I have all the time in the world if I keep removing their stuff. But it's possible Stoneforge Mystic is better this turn, because it's going to play around some Spell Pierce type cards that Prismatic Ending doesn't. If I play Stoneforge and then Stoneforge is Lightning Bolted, I can still Prismatic Ending the next turn, and it's faster at saving damage. Alright, movement from my opponent. As a Spell Pierce, I will daze that. I'll protect my Tundra from Wasteland, as that is my last Tundra. My opponent is getting to the point where they are forced to use resources on Narcomoeba. And as soon as that happens, that paves the way for these other cards to actually just be good. Like, my opponent does not get to fetch again this game. If Narcomoeba hits, my opponent does not get to pitch cast Force of Will. If this hits, Pyroblast. I accept. I think I'm just jamming Stoneforge this turn. Cabal Therapy is better if I'm on 3 mana. Yes, I will use this ability. I will pick up Kaldra. Whip Shuko. It's somewhat tempting to just like get another Shuko and then attempt to present 3 damage with Stoneforge Mystic next turn because of Lightning Bolt. But I think I'm just trying to win the game with Cephalid Illusionist next turn. Maybe casting Cabal Therapy on another Pyroblast or something. Cast Narcomoeba? Like, if there's a Force of Will, I'd like, yeah. I don't need to try to win. I'm still at 18 life. My opponent's at 3. I've got all the time in the world here. Whip Shuko. Brainstorm's probably very good for my opponent. I don't get feelings of strength from their current position. There's a Murktide Regent. That's fine. That is a theoretical blocker for Narcomoeba. Oh, that's weird. That's really weird. Wall Therapy, target you. What do I name? My opponent just brainstormed. A lot of things could have gotten refreshed. I think I just named the generic counter Force of Will, despite the fact that it is a 2-for-1 that is not in my opponent's favor. Opponent has a Delver left. Swords target Murktide. Attack for 2 with the mighty Narcomoeba that could. My opponent goes to 8. Ball Therapy, target you. I'll take that Delver. Alright, got it. Oh, why did you do that, opponent? You're deterministically dead now. That was a very bad play. So I just have the Cephalid Illusionist combo now that they told me that they don't have anything. Whereas I might have hesitated to go for it as of a second ago. Alright, I do the thing. Shuko, target this a bunch of times. Wait. I don't have another Narcomoeba? Oh, F. I have 3 Narcomoebas in this deck, not 4, and I just accordingly punted this game. Oh, that's frustrating. Fully on me. Yeah, I have 3 Narcomoebas in this list. I thought I had 4. F. Okay, GG's. Alright, round 4. I'm keeping my opening hand here. I don't have both pieces of the combo. I have... Well, maybe I don't have cantrips anymore. Alright. I do not have immediate cantrips. I have a Daze for my opponent's first threat or lock piece that matters. Am I playing that on 1? This is really weird. If I play this on 1 to Goldfish as quickly as possible, I can't Daze, and that matters a lot if my opponent has, say, a Blood Moon here. So I think I am just going to slow down my Goldfish by a turn cycle to play out a land so that I can Daze. I don't know if I'm playing against like a red deck or an initiative deck yet. And until I have a little bit more information, I don't think I'm willing to pull the trigger. So, Saga, Illusionist, and pass turn. Alright, therapy's not great. Go ahead and drop a land here. Lets me make an Urza Saga Construct token. I don't want to play out another Cephalid Illusionist here. I want to be able to hard cast a Daze, or otherwise make an Urza Saga Construct token. Sure, this is fine. I'm a little confused why my opponent kept their hand. This is like a very, very, very unkeepable hand. Like, turn 1 Chalice on the playoff City of Traders is not a keepable hand in current Legacy. Let's see. So I can just make an Urza Saga token, right? Because the thing I need to cast is equip 0. Yeah. There is a Shuko. Okay, land drop. Equip a Shuko. Go to combat. Attack for 5. I'm going to put my opponent to 14. And then I'm going to do something that looks kind of crazy here, but I think I just passed the turn. I have the win on board, but I would like to see what deck my opponent is playing if possible. And I don't do that if I kill my opponent. Ooh. Alright, let's take a Tundra out of my deck. It's kind of a big deal in sideboarding whether or not my opponent has blue cards. I'm not willing to wait another turn, though. I guess I attack first again. Send him on in. Opponent goes to 7. I do it this turn because things like Pithing Needle start getting involved. Okay, so at this point I have 1 card left in library. Go ahead and give myself an extra devotion to blue. I will cast Dread Return, targeting Thassa's Oracle, sacrificing 1, 2, 3 of my creatures. Hey, it's a blue card. That's fine. Shuko equipped to Narcomoeba. Pass the turn. Hopefully I still kill my opponent next turn. That's an Urza Saga activation that puts them to 4. I think I'm good, because I have Teferi to help me out here. The Lion's Eye Diamond. My opponent casts Echo of Eons. If I counter this, My opponent is dead in the air to Narcomoeba. Boop. Alright, and my opponent concedes. I don't exactly know how to approach this matchup. My prismatic endings probably need to come in. Like, I just need to have answers to Chalice. And they can also take out opposing artifact mana. But then from there, I don't know how much I am supposed to focus on, like, removing Urza Saga tokens versus trying to stop my opponent from doing the Days Undoing thing. Like, it may just be correct to play the 7 removal spells that I have. The wizard cycling seems really slow and clunky here, especially if my opponent gives me a new 7. I think those are my first things to go. The fairy feels quite slow from there. Maybe I go down a ponder as a 1-drop. I go down the Cabal Therapy, question mark, question mark, question mark. Please don't take my sideboarding as gospel here. I do not know what I am doing here. I do know that this is a mulligan. This is just, like, absolutely not going to fly. This has 2 lands. It's a keep. I pitch a Narcomoeba. I have a Narcomoeba that can pitch to a Force of Will. Or if my opponent tries to do something broken that makes me sad, I'll just play a land and pass. From there, it's a little harder to tell what my next play is supposed to be. That insulates me from their Force of Wills. Like, I can just let that resolve, then I have protection from their Force of Wills, whereas if I Force of Will this and they have a Force of Will, well, yeah. If I Force of Will this and they just let it resolve and then they have a Force of Will, very awkward for me. I think I just let that resolve. Now, Kaldra or Shuko is a real question. Tundra, these can both just be Tundras, right? Yeah, these both just be Tundras. I think I just attempt combo kill next turn, but I put the Illusionist into play because that's better if my opponent does end up healing. All right, there is the LED. Second LED. All right, that is Days Undoing, and my opponent is dead. Yep. So their own defense grid stops them from doing anything to stop this here. All right, yeah, like how I played that one. GG's. Yeah, perfectly fine with keeping this hand. I have some Stoneforge into Kaldra options. I have some combo options. I like what's going on here. Ooh, Preordain. I haven't seen a Preordain in a hot minute. What are we looking at over there? Maybe some sort of blue-black Reanimator Atraxa nonsense. Alright. All therapy that I'm casting this turn. It is probably best for me to just name one of the generic blue cantrips that is 100% in my opponent's deck list, rather than swinging for the fences and naming something more narrow like Doomsday or Entomb or Reanimate or something like that. So I think I am just going to pick Brainstorm here as a relatively safe bet. Ooh, Doomsday. So next turn, I do have the option to play a creature, flashback Cabal Therapy, and take 2 Dark Rituals. Thing is that if Dark Ritual is going to be good, it is going to be good this turn, yeah, rather than later on. All right, that is a Doomsday. Opponent has Street Wraith. They can immediately draw a card. I also have Edge of Autumn. Immediately draw 2 cards. I might disrupt this turn with Days if they go for it this turn. Alright. Is this a personal tutor build? Yes, this is a personal tutor build. Nothing fancy here. Alright, and they are just gonna pass the turn and play it a little bit slower. There is a Cephalid Illusionist. So, what is my fastest kill? Stoneforge for Kaldra doesn't kill next turn. Cephalid Illusionist kills next turn if I draw a land and can play Stoneforge for Shuko. Shuko kill. So Let's play Cephalid Illusionist. I am not sure that Cabal therapying my opponent really accomplishes anything. I'm going to pass the turn there. Like, the Dark Ritual doesn't super matter at this point. Street Wraith or Edge of Autumn can be cycled in response. And I just don't think I have time to, like, play a Narcomoeba, sack one of those to do the thing. Like, I've got to hope that my opponent was playing towards a slower, like, Cavern of Souls, win with empty library sort of thing. Okay. There is a Street Wraith. The Grove. My opponent has Oracle around Days, unfortunately. That will do it. GG. The Flusterstorm Spell Pierce sound pretty reasonable to me. Is Memory Journey good? Like, do I just keep that as interaction versus Doomsday? If I cast a Doomsday, do a couple of things, and then I go, oh, your library's bigger than you think it is. It's cute. What's unclear to me is whether or not that's better than just, like, trying to win the game. Feels like these are very slow here. I could just, like, go this route, make the deck a little bit faster. I don't know that I want to cut another card from here for Memory's Journey. It's a little weird. I think I keep something that looks like this that just produces a turn 2 Kaldra with the ability to then cantrip for interaction after that, but it's possible that this is just too slow. I have a decent amount of success jamming Kaldra versus Doomsday in general. Like, that is a piece of equipment that changed. I actually want to ponder here rather than Nomads if Kaldra is the plan. Yeah, let's do that. That can look for a Force of Will. Absolutely not. Narcomoeba, not what I'm looking for. I don't know. If I'm looking for a Kaldra hand, I could have fished harder for a more disruptive Kaldra hand. Alright. See what my opponent is doing. That is a Trop for Carpet of Flowers. My Snow-Covered Plains is convenient here in that case. Personal tutor for Doomsday. Understood. I believe I just jam. If I ponder and look for disruption and don't find disruption, I'm woefully behind here. I'm just gonna find the Kaldra, and we're gonna have like the fair backdoor here to try to kill my opponent. Kaldra will kill in 2 swings if my opponent casts a Doomsday. Now they are going to need some sort of artifact mana or ritual to cast a Doomsday this turn, even with Carpet of Flowers. I'm expecting a Doomsday next turn rather than this turn. Again, could be wrong. Yeah, it seems like this is a setup for next turn. Okay, there is a Lotus Petal for the black for Dark Ritual. We go ahead and cast a Doomsday. So my opponent knows that they have to make a pile that can beat Kaldra. Kaldra is just on board here. Alright, so we can see my opponent's brought in some green cards. They're at 9. I'm a mana short from comboing off myself here. I could use all my brain power that I have left to reverse engineer exactly what my opponent's pile is. And if I was playing in any competitive event, I would do that, but instead we're just going to jam the Kaldra and see if it works. My opponent's dead to it next turn unless they have a bounce spell for it. If they have a bounce spell for it, that just gives me another turn to redraw a land. I can ponder trying to hit exactly like a Force of Will, but my opponent may have like a Cavern of Souls based kill anyway. Abrupt Decay on the Germ token will resolve, as Kaldra is indestructible. Yeah. Well, so both. Let me do this on the next screen. The Germ token gets indestructible, and Kaldra itself also has that indestructible. So I now know that my opponent is playing some green cards, so I could play Prismatic Ending specifically to answer Carpet of Flowers. Kind of feels like a no from me. When I am on the draw, I could consider playing something like Surgical Extraction to mess with the order of a pile. It's not very good. Step Through is horribly slow here, though. And I'm pretty heavily thinking about making this swap. Yeah, sometimes all I need is a single turn to get a kill with a Kaldra or something like that. Surgical doesn't win me the game, but Surgical shuffling their library can be a big deal. This has 2 pieces of interaction, really maybe closer to 1.5. A Stoneforge Mystic, which already has the Kaldra in hand, and an awkward Narcomoeba. This is like a solid 5.5 card hand. Any cantrip is an incredible draw, any land is an incredible draw, and I am on the draw. Okay, I'm like not happy about this though. I think I'm just hoping to live the dream of Flusterstorm a turn 2 Doomsday into Surgical Extraction the Doomsday. Like, that's very, very, very much the plan here. Alright, there is movement. Your Ponder resolves. I'm not going to fight over that here. A fast shuffle. Alright, my opponent doesn't have another land. I am going to cast an end of turn Brainstorm to find any land to cast Stoneforge Mystic. And it's super bad if I Brainstorm lock myself. Like, I will Surgical myself to shuffle if need be. Let's put Kaldra back into the deck, and I'll redraw an uncastable Cabal Therapy. That's fine. Do this. Jam Stoneforge Mystic. Miracle a Kaldra into my hand. And pass the turn. After this turn, I have a pretty good Disruption Suite and a pretty good clock. My best draw is probably just a land. Alright, so that was my opponent's draw for turn. And we'll see if they have a ritual here that they are going for, or what. That is a Thoughtseize. So they can take the Kaldra and take a lot of pressure off of themselves, or they can take some of my disruption. Again, the Cabal Therapy isn't castable right now. They are going for the Surgical. Oh, do they just have it right now? Oh, they have it right now. That's Doomsday. I think I lose to that, right? My opponent can just do this in a way that Fluster and Pierce don't interact with like Street Wraith, Edge of Autumn, Oracle, or something equivalent. Alright, Doomsday has resolved. I have another turn. I am 1 mana short of going off on my own again here. So at a quick look, I don't see the Edge of Autumns and the Street Wraiths. So that is, or no, there's 1 Street Wraith. So there's 1 Street Wraith, 1 Edge of Autumn. One draws a card for turn, they're at 4. They cycled 2 cards, they're at 2. Thassa's Oracle kills in that situation. So my Flusterstorm and Spell Pierce, in theory, don't do anything. So is it Kaldra and hope my opponent messed up their pile? There's 3. Like, if they needed to fetch a land out of there as part of their plan, that shouldn't be part of their plan. Yeah, I don't think these do anything. My opponent knows about them and can plan around them as well. So, like, Wackus Bonkus. Hit my opponent for 5. Yep. That's what I've got. Oh. That's not the line that I was expecting. There's an LED. There's Street Wraith. Crack. Sitter. That puts another card in there. And then Oracle happens. So I guess the problem is that if I wait there and just hold up my mana, I'm only attacking my opponent for 1. And they can just kind of wait out my counters. And I don't clock them fast enough before they can just cast a Thassa's Oracle. Yeah, without knowing the other card in their hand, it's a little hard for me to tell. But I think going in with Kaldra was correct. All right, so that's it. That's the end of the league. That's a 2-3 finish, but like I thought I had 4 Narcomoebas in my deck, and I punted a game that was otherwise basically unlosable, so feels a lot like a 3-2. Overall thoughts on the deck list. This deck, great. Like, I made some piloting errors for sure, and I'm not sure that this is the perfect build, but like this deck is very powerful. Like, very, very powerful. Like a tier 1 deck or very close to it if it is not actually a tier 1 deck. I found myself very frequently being 1 mana short of being able to actually combo off. Like, there were so many times where if I had my 3rd land drop, I just had, like, Illusionist plus Nomads en-Kor, or I played out an Illusionist, and then, like, Stoneforge, get Shuko, play Shuko would have been a kill. I found myself missing that 3rd land drop a lot. I'm not sure if that means that I want Aether Vial, or if I want a 21st land, or what. Or maybe I chalk some of that up to variance, or not mulliganing enough, or whatever. Teferi felt pretty bad in this league. I think that was one of my most commonly sideboarded out things, and I often found myself getting stuck on 2 mana, so Teferi wasn't really doing its job. I don't necessarily think I'm supposed to cut that or anything, but like in this exact league, Teferi was not the banger that I kind of expected it to be. I feel like this deck gives you a lot of agency, which is something that I like out of a legacy deck. It gives your opponents a lot of chances to misplay against you. Now, on the other hand, like, you also have a lot of chances to misplay. Like, I definitely botched a couple of things, and I didn't like how I handled a couple of lines in particular throughout the league. Like that one with the prismatic ending on the Stone Brain, for example. I think I messed that up as well. Don't really know about Jack-o'-lantern. That didn't exactly come up throughout the league, but I did have a situation where I had like a pair of Urza Sagas in play, and in theory, a Jack-o'-lantern would have let me combo off. Now that card wasn't boarded in that specific matchup, so maybe Jack-o'-lantern should just be something else. But like, I like what's going on here a lot, and I enjoyed playing this deck a ton. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, because that's the more important part. If you did, please click the like button on the way out, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!